Flowers. Flowers are the reproductive structures of plants. In this diagram, you will need to know the male structure of the flower, which is called the stamen, and that consists of two parts, the anther and the filament, and then the female structure of the flower, which is the pistil or carpel. The pistil and carpel consists of three parts, the stigma, the style, and the ovary, and inside the ovary you have the ovules, which are the unfertilized seeds. To attract other animals to the flower, you have the petals. To protect the petals, you have the sepals, which actually form the outside of the flower, which is the bud. These are usually underneath the petals. Sometimes they are green, and sometimes, depending on the flower, they are the same color as the petals. The pedicle is considered the upper portion of the flower stem. The receptacle is the place where the stem holds the floral organs together. This is the upper portion of the stem where the stamen and ovary attach. The sepals are the green leaf-like structures underneath the petals. As I just said, many times they are green, sometimes they're the same color as petals. The sepals can be very colorful, looking like petals. The calyx is a group of sepals. Petals are located inside or above the sepals. They are very often leaf-like. The purpose is to attract pollinators, such as bees. The corolla are a collection of the petals, all the petals together. Tepals are a merging together of the petals and sepals. This is where there is no clear distinction between the sepal and the petal. The stamen is the male structure, and this is usually surrounding the female structure in a monoecious plant. The anther is part of the stamen that produces the pollen. This is usually at the very top or tip. The filament holds the anther. Then we move to the female part, the pistil or the carpel. The stigma is the top sticky part, sticky stigma, that catches the pollen. The style is the tube that the pollen has to travel down. The pollen will make a little pollen tube, and this is going to dig through the style, which is the neck of the pistil. And then we have the ovary. The ovary is at the very bottom. This is very close to the stem. This contains the ovules or the unfertilized seeds. The ovule, as I just said, produce the seeds. These are like the eggs. So the pollen is like the sperm, the male gamete. The ovule is the egg, the female gamete. When the ovule becomes fertilized, it produces a seed. The ovary will then swell, producing fruit. So the swollen ovary of a flower is called the fruit, and it produces a mass amount of food to nourish the seed. When the fruit hits the ground, it provides a fertilized ground for the seed to grow. In nature, the fruit is the flowering plant that usually contains the seeds. Now remember, fruit contains seeds. So scientifically, anything that is called a fruit comes from the flower and it has seeds. So we're not talking about a common cooking term, we're talking about a scientific term containing seeds. So what we commonly think of vegetables, because it's not sweet, those could actually be fruit. So cucumbers, squash, tomatoes, those all have seeds. So those are fruit. So if fruit are the enlarged ovaries containing seeds, then what are vegetables? Anything that would not be a fruit, anything that does not have a seed, anything that doesn't come from a flower would be a vegetable. So if we're talking about the leaf, such as lettuce, cabbage, if we're talking about stems, such as rhubarb or celery, if we're talking about the actual seed, which would be in the fruit, the actual seed, such as the little corn seed or the little bean seed, that would be a vegetable. And roots, such as carrots and radishes. Now, an onion actually would be considered an underground leaf because it has these layers of leaves folded on there. Underneath the onion, you do have little fibrous roots, identifying that it's a monocot. So here's a identification of all vegetables. Now, a potato is actually considered a tuber, which is an underground stem, a modified underground stem. It wouldn't be considered a root. Roots do come off of potatoes if you leave them in your pantry.